Hey, it's Karina Reichman, and you are listening to Comes a Time with Oteil Burbridge and Mike Fenoya. If you're digging the podcast, do these guys a favor and review and subscribe. It means a lot. Be sure to follow the pod on social media, YouTube, and if you're joining for bonus episodes and exclusive content, go to patreon.com/comesatimepod and get on the bus. And now, here's Mike and Oteil.
Hi, everyone. You're back with Oteil and Mike. Solo comes a time. Catching up, saying hi. How you doing, my friend?
Doing good, man. In this wacky world.
I know.
Can't wait till we can do a live one together. Jeez.
We're working on it. Exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It'd be nice to just be able to be in person. You know?
Yes. It will.
What's cooking with you? How's things?
Oh, everything, man. Just trying to
Cheers.
deal with the yes, cheers. Deal with the ever-changing landscape of parenting
Yeah.
as they go through different stages, you know. It's good for you though. It really
Getting older.
Yeah. And they really make you realize what you have to work on. It's brutal. That's good for you, though.
Yeah. I texted you the other day and you were like, yeah, just me and the kids today, right? You were just having a day of, I think it was rainy. So it's like you guys are inside. I forget that Florida's so outdoors, to live, just your normal living. Worst case, you go let's go in the pool, right? You have that. But if it's rainy, you don't want to do that. So I think I'm used to that up here where it's months in the house.
Yeah, we're so challenged when and it does. It needs to remind me how spoiled I am.
Mm-hmm.
And that, hey, let's spend the day in with books but when you're always trying to get them off of devices, not being able to go outside is like a curse.
Right.
But let's play Scrabble, let's play chess, let's play music, let's read books. They always revert to building for it. So they take the couch completely. They take the whole house apart and then make this enormous fort. And it's well, I can't get mad because I said, be creative. They're like, sweet.
Yeah, let's build a house in our house. That's pretty damn creative.
It's hilarious.
Yeah.
Then I got to put it back together. But it's good to see their imaginations just kick right in. Right in.
That's so cool. Do they know how to play? Does Nigel know how to play chess?
Yeah, he's beaten me 3-4 times.
Can I tell you, it's one of the biggest regrets in my life is never learning how to play. I don't know how to play chess. I really want to learn how to play chess. It's never too late, but I want to learn.
You should do it because so much of my life right now, and Jess is really great about this. I think I got this from her. Really, is just that beginners. It's great being a beginner.
Yeah,
we're so used to being specialists.
Mm-hmm.
So when we break out our tools, it's oh, you're the man, but stick a chessboard in front,
I know.
I just learned to play Chinese checkers and Scrabble. I didn't know how to play Scrabble.
Okay.
But I just thought, I always have this incentive because it's hey, it's something else that I can do with the kids. Right. I learned to play gin when we were on Jess's birthday vacation.
Nice.
And man, so now it's airport delays or whatever. As long as I have a deck of cards, even if I'm by myself, there might be some old lady. I'm you want to play gin? She's like, sure, let's go.
Yeah, that's so cool.
That's just fun. You'd like it. It's like anything. You got to learn all the moves, but it's fun.
It was one of those pandemic plans that never came to fruition. Where I'm I'm going to learn chess. I have no reason not to. Right now, there's literally nothing else to do. Me and the computer, I could just learn chess, and I just never did. And but you're right about that. It's interesting because like Lisa and I were just in Aruba, right? And when we were in Vermont not that long ago, I taught her a game called Palace, and she refreshed me on how to play gin. And it was fun, dude. We just sat there for like hours. We were
Yeah.
sunburnt in Aruba, and it's like, want to go in and play cards? And it's like, yeah. And it's like a fun, you're right. All you need is this little wallet-sized deck of 52 fucking, it's so cool. But yeah, I always was like, I always thought chess was a smart person or a rich person's game. I don't know why. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But I always put it in this like, I'm a checkers kid. I grew up in the checkers part of town, you know?
I'm a checkers guy. We got to be on a team, you know. I'm team checkers, man. Fuck
Team
chess, you know.
Knights and rooks. And was there history involved in this shit? No way, man. I want to learn. I really want to learn.
It's fun, man. It's except not when you're getting beaten by your 8-year-old or now 9-year-old.
Oh,
And when he
God,
could
it's
tell
so
when
cool.
when I'm taking the bait, like when he's gonna beat me, he doesn't hide it. He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm coming in for the kill." He just starts laughing. He's like, "You're like you little."
Did you ever have a point with him where I mean, obviously, I'm sure dads do this, but you let him win for a while, and then
Oh
you
yeah.
got to a point where you're like, oh shit, he's like letting me win. Like, are you there yet?
No, he doesn't let me win. Oh no. And here's what happened. I was like, go easy on him, man.
Sure.
And then he actually went through a chess tournament at his school. And so when I started playing him after that, I'm playing, and I'm playing, and I'm like, this little shit's gonna beat me. That was what happened. I was like, and then he starts, getting more like gloating more and more. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, he's gonna be that first time he beat me was rough. Because he was 8 then. And I hadn't, like I hadn't played in forever, man. I'm like, sure, let's play, And he's like, "Are you sure, Dad?" I'm like, "Dude, I've been playing chess since before you were born. I'm getting cocky or whatever.
Yeah.
I know how to play this game." So I did let him win a couple. It wasn't that long before he beat me, man. Seriously, I think it was like 5 games. I think game 5 or 6, he legit beat me, and I was like,
that quick, dude? Game 5 or
dude.
6?
Well, he was in. They had a class.
Sure.
And
Okay.
Aaron, his friend that's like really good. I think Aaron won the tournament. So they they compete with each other. So he was really learning. I'm sure the chess teacher there like really knew what she was doing.
Yeah.
So he was, and I'm trying to get the cobwebs off while maintaining some sort of posture of knowing what I'm doing.
Oh, here we go with the excuses.
Dude, he beat me in like 5, 6 games. I was like, wow.
Dude, that's wild.
That was humbling. I beat him after that, but he's beat me again since a couple times. It's like, wow.
He looked across the table and he's like, go set the table for dinner. You're like, all right, sorry.
But then I became like, we're equals now. Like, I'm not letting you win. I'm gonna beat your
gloves
ass.
Are off.
Like,
yeah, totally.
And then he beat me again after that. It's so great. I love it though.
So cool.
I love it.
I love watching the guys in like Washington Square Park in New York.
Yeah. Serious business.
Dude, just sitting there like, because there's those old tables that are like, there's a chess board built into the table, like designed into the top of the table. And these dudes are sitting there just like for hours contemplating moves. And that's the thing I like about it, that it's so like meditative and like thoughtful. It's a thoughtful game. Like, I think if you lose at chess, it's worse than losing at like 10 games of checkers somehow. Like a chess match feels like there's like you're investing your like soul into it,
There's so many long range plans,
Yeah, that's the thing. Like if X then Y, and if this then that, and you have to pay attention. I think that's really what I'd like about it. I downloaded an app during the pandemic, and it was just like, I think I hit the wrong setting, and all of a sudden I'm just in a game with like Navaldi or some like I
Oh
don't know.
God.
Like I'm like I don't know. I got to start with like a Jeff or a Dave, or I'm not ready
Why,
for Navaldi's.
why am I playing a Russian this soon?
I'm not ready for this.
What the-
Yeah. I'm not at Alexi level of chess yet, you know. Let me
That's
start with
why I
like another
just do
Mike or a Bill.
everything on YouTube for me. I don't know why YouTube just like if I'm gonna put together a dollhouse or a bike or any learn to play banjo,
Yeah.
whatever. I'm going to YouTube, do it for the beginners, or whatever for beginners.
Yeah.
Go easy on me, but it's fun, like especially because you do feel once your ego gets over it, like really proud, like wow.
Yeah.
And also like maybe I hope it's because my kid's not so smart and not because I'm so freaking dumb.
Well, you know, let's think about that. I think I'd be okay with my kid being so smart that like that's almost like somehow like, yeah, I'm gonna be okay. Like if my kid
Yeah.
is a chess aficionado at 8, like, man, water that plant because that's gonna pay. That's a non-contact sport that he can, you know, there's no head injuries in chess. There's no broken
No.
bones in chess. Like, you know,
Yeah.
I was on the road what was it, 2 weekends ago in Chicago, and there was it's kind of hilarious actually. The the hotel was in the suburbs of Chicago, and there was a whole bunch of families there checking in. And there was one line of families checking in for a chess tournament, and there was one line of families checking in for a hockey tournament.
A little yin yang.
Little yin yang, right? And literally, like the chess line is like quiet, and everyone's like on their phones. One kid's reading a book. Hockey families are just coming in with like a 900-pound bag of equipment, just like lumbering it onto the ground. And, you know, where can we get wings? Where can we get, you know, like just like hockey, like they're just the adrenaline's pumping, right? Like, and the kids, the chess kids sit down, rip a board out, start practicing, you know, and the hockey kids are running around, just like jumping on each other, like just elbowing, like basically just steel cage match wrestling. And I'm watching this, waiting in line for coffee, and I'm kind of like, yeah, I was the hockey kid growing up. I was not the chess kid. I don't know how to skate, but that was football version, you know, like land hockey. And there was this point during the weekend where, you know how it is. We've talked about this a million times, so I don't want to like beat a dead horse here, but like you know, the couple hours before showtime where you're like, hey, let me get a nap in because I'm gonna be up till 3 a.m. or whatever, right? Like, so it was like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I have to leave at 6 for the shows. So I'm like, let me set my alarm for like 5:15. So I lay down, I'm out cold immediately. I fall asleep. And all of a sudden I hear knock, 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 knock on my door, right? And I like it startles me, and I go running out to like, you know, see what it was. And it's a couple hockey kids like knocking and running. They're doing like
Oh,
they're playing like mischief night in the hallway with like me and a couple other doors, you know? And now I'm like, these stupid kids. Now I'm like the old man. I'm like,
you're on the
goddamn
other
kids ruined my
side
nap, you know?
of yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. Young me came back, right? And then I go back to bed and I fall asleep, and then again, and I'm like, these fucking kids. And I get like up and like, you know, they got me a second time. So this time I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to be able to go back to sleep. So I got dressed and I stood by the door and I looked out the peephole, ready for them to like come back a third time and like knock on the door. Not sure what I would do if they did. Like, am I going to open the door and be like, yeah, I got you, you know? And then I'm that weird old dude, and you know, like that, you know. But I stood there, dude, for like probably 20 minutes. They never came back. And until now, I'm just some weird
Now
asshole
you're
standing
pissed.
at. Well, also, I've like had a moment of clarity. Like, what the fuck am I doing?
What are you
like,
doing?
I'm in a hotel in suburban Chicago with my eye against the peephole, waiting for kids to knock on my door. I'm like, what am I gonna do when I catch them? Even, you know? And then the old man in me is like, that's 20 more minutes you could have napped, dude.
Yeah, that's a solid 20. You could have had
That's a meditation.
those darn kids.
Dad, whippersnappers. I'm like, those chess kids wouldn't have done that. It's them hockey bastards.
You
But
darn
yeah,
hockey kids. Why can't you be more like the chess kids?
yeah, you damn ice brats. Learn how to play wealthy chess instead.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, but it was just funny to see like the comparative. And it was nice because the parents were there with the kids on either end of the spectrum. Like there was the hockey
Yeah.
parents. Hockey parents are extremely dedicated because
Oh my God.
you got to get up at like 2 a.m. and go. You get ice time like before school, and it's a whole other. They're living in like a whole other time zone. Hockey families.
The commitment level blows my mind. Because even like Kavi's doing gymnastics like twice a week now, and they're 2-hour classes. And it's like right after school, we got to go straight to gymnastics. And I'm like, that's all for a 6-year-old. That's a pretty big commitment. Of course, she loves it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, but I talk to other parents who have older kids, and they're doing some driving, man. They're doing some flying to these guys. I'm like, wow, that's a lot of for whatever, swim, hockey, baseball. I was just like, whoa, it's a lot. It's a huge commitment.
Well,
and there's some bucks being spent.
Hell yeah, man. I mean, because I guess think about this. That's their bass guitar, right? Like
uniforms, gear, helmets.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not even at plane tickets and hotels and food and gas.
Registration and all that other. Yeah,
totally. All these fees and stuff. I'm like, oh my goodness.
So that's a thing. That's a parenting thing that like, I mean, I have a buddy
another thing.
Yeah, I know another thing. Yeah, totally.
Yet another
At least
thing.
Chess is something that's like, all right, you don't have like a big bag. You don't have equipment you got to buy and stuff. You just get some, but
still the time commitment for like, if there's travel, like as soon as you have tournaments, when you hear the word tournaments, you're on the hook.
Yeah, once it gets competitive, then it's like competition costs money.
It's like, man, I didn't realize this debate club is going to cost me this much.
Oh God, you got to fly to Washington D.C. so your kid can go. Yeah, so
I know. I was like, I gotta get them hooked on music. I already bought all that stuff.
Yeah,
I got guitars, keyboards, basses, drums.
I can start a family band, man.
Like, come on, I got everything already.
What's so funny too is maybe it's because it's like right there that they don't want, like, not that they don't want it, but like, can you imagine if you're like, that's off limits? Then they'd want it.
That's what Trey told me I should have done. I'll never forget, and I can't go back now because I hadn't seen him in a while. We were at, I think it was Peach Fest, and he was like, "Yeah, so is Nigel, is he?" And I was like, "Dude, unfortunately, he's really, really good, but he doesn't want to do it because I don't want him to do it. I bought him a great little drum kit. I play it. It sounds good. It's a real Pearl kit. It's just shrunk. I could record with it." And he's like, "Yeah, you should have told him, that's off limits." And I was like, God, I wish I had talked to you. Right when I bought this kit, just put a piece of yellow tape around, and then
forbidden fruit.
But now he's doing it again. He's beating on everything. He loves to make rhythms. And I'm like, I got you. It's in your blood. I'm just going to wait. I'm not going to say nothing.
Yeah.
But he's constantly making rhythms. And now he's like putting lyrics to it.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, what song is that? He goes, oh, that's nothing. That's something I did. And I was like, cause he's been singing it. Like we play badminton now in the house. And, cause it's Florida. It's too windy actually to play badminton outside. So we have to play inside. But, he keeps singing the song. And the rackets have two different tones, so it's like bing, boom, bing, boom, bing, and he like did this thing with it. And there's this whole song, and I thought he was putting another song to the back and forth of our badminton, but he wrote it. But he doesn't see it as him writing it. He doesn't see it as composition. But it always starts with a rhythm. So I'm like, dude, just chill out because at some point. That vine is growing already. Like I can see it. And then all of a sudden it's going to be all over the place. And be like, and it's all sitting right here.
That's the vault.
Like, come, my child, come.
Finally.
Yes.
It's so funny that you say that. So he doesn't look at it as composition. What is he? He just looks at it as a natural, like, oh no, I put A and B together to make
He
C.
didn't even know what to call it because I was
Wow.
like, whose song is that? And he was like, well, it's not a song. I was like, but it is because you're. So I'm like, don't argue with him. Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I know it's composition. It's like,
Right.
check. His piano teacher told me he was transposing. You know what Nigel calls that? Cheating.
Oh my God. He calls
Because
that cheating?
he didn't want to read it. And so he just figured it out in whatever key he happened to be in at the time and then played it for the teacher. Like he knew it was right, but he didn't realize that he did it in the wrong key. But the
Wow.
teacher realized it and he says, hey, do you know he can transpose? I was like, well, I thought he could, but that's big because that means he has relative pitch.
Yeah.
Kofi had perfect pitch, but I only have relative. Well, I got this far on relative pitch. So he's got good rhythm and he's got relative pitch. Bingo. All he needs is to put the reps in, or I should say, have the desire first and then put the reps in. And he's going to be really, really good.
Wow, dude. That's incredible because there are those, first of all, like the fact that he's like just second nature creating
Yeah.
composing and going like, oh, it's not a song, it's just something I made. Like that means it's like it's like a limb. Like that's like he's just like, no, this is just what I did. Like you're supposed to do
Right.
that. You're supposed to put a thought to sound and make a thing. There's comics sometimes, and I feel like I've had this certain times too with jokes, and you could see it with other like kind of savant level comics where it's like
Yeah.
they're never not writing jokes, but it's
They
like,
think that way all day.
right, yeah. And we all kind of have that curse that sometimes
Yeah.
bears fruit, you know what I mean? But like there are times where and I don't even I think I texted you one time or something, but it's like sometimes you say something and it's just a thought and it cracks the room up and you go like, oh shit, sometimes just my thoughts are jokes. Like I just think funny,
You
like and it's
do.
and
I forget sometimes because we'll be just like friends. We're just talking.
yeah.
And then you just like throw something out there, and I'm like, God, dog. And it's like, he is a pro, Oteil. He's a professional. You know what I mean? But it's just your brain just thinks that way. But it just sometimes it hits me so hard. I'm like, wow, it's probably you're probably responsible for me not watching as much stand-up comedy. Because
Oh,
when
I'm
I get to
sorry.
just hang out with you, I get it
My
all
fault.
just from your because that's how your brain works.
But it's so funny that like because I'm hearing you explain Nigel and I'm thinking about comedy and it's kind of like sometimes you have these just like dude, that's a funny joke and it's like that's not a joke, that's just how I
It's
feel.
just
And then
a
it's like,
thought. Yeah.
oh, wait a minute. Because you know what the biggest curse is in that way is that sometimes you don't have faith
Mm,
in your foundational stuff that you think
yeah.
you have to do some grandiose, massive thing with your thoughts. And then that becomes almost kind of like a curse in itself where you're just like, give up on it. So if he's able to, at a young age, hear like, no, dude, that's a song. Like, let's finish that song. Like, how does it end? How does it begin? How does it end? Where's the middle? Like, boom. I'm not saying that's what you do, but like,
Yeah.
I've thought about that where I'm just kind of like,
Yeah.
oh man, like write your thoughts down. If anything seems not just the course of the day, write that shit down. And even the course of the day stuff.
Dude, if you crack somebody up at the grocery store,
Write it down.
you never know. I mean, who knows? Like, isn't it weird? Like some of the people that you know that are like super funny, and they could be maybe it's not stand up, but in some form of comedy
Yeah.
and the different forms that it takes, but they don't.
No.
It's fun. You're just like, wow.
Well,
So grateful for it because like the ones that are comics,
yep.
oh boy, they were a handful in high school. You know,
Or they were like dead silent and were scared of
huh?
their own shadow. I mean, there's a lot of I mean, not that's a major like thing I learned with comedy. Like I made jokes in school because I was terrified that everyone would know I didn't understand what we were working on in school. Like math class was my first open mic, basically, because
So math class was my specialty.
I'd go in and roll my sleeves. I'd have like a flower with water flying out of it. No, I was terrified that everyone was going to think I was stupid because I don't know how to do math. Like literally, I look at numbers on a page and the numbers like move and like fall off the page and like
It's like anxiety. I have it too.
yeah, I guess
YouTube.
now
That's why I do everything. I can't read instructions.
no, I can't either, dude. I
get
buy
paralyzed.
things. Yeah, I get things and then I go like, why did I buy this? I'm not going to learn. I'm going to learn 10% of how to use this thing because my own anxiety about not knowing how to do things is going to get in the way and I'm not going to complete it. Right. So that was like, I learned that joking was my defense mechanism. But there were kids in school, man, that I mean, there's comics that like they were just like basement dwelling comic book kind of like,
Wallflower.
yeah, because like it was, but stand up was the thing that kind of like helped break them out of their shell. And they had a whole other, I mean, because listen, that those people need laughter too. People that were comic, but like they need like, how do I put it? Like there's a lane for every flavor, right? So like not everybody loves that Bill Hicks kind of preachy comedy.
Yeah.
Not everybody loves some people like, like the more Stephen Wright quirkiness or the Dave Attell like poetic stuff. So it's interesting to see, you learn from comics and like you're sitting around with comics and you're like, oh, it's not a bunch of freaking class clowns that were throwing spitballs at the board and shit. Like, but we were all crying out for help in our own way, I think. You know what I mean? You know what Big J said? I'll always, he goes, we're always trying to be as funny as we were the day before we started being comedians.
It's before it's like now it's your profession.
Yeah. We're always trying to be that. Yeah.
That's the thing with music. Once a career in music can be the worst thing unless you know how to use it as fuel. But because the original thing is just all inspiration.
Right.
It's nothing but that.
You're right.
And so then you're trying to like, once it's mandated, and you could do it, you could be like, okay, well, a certain amount of this has to be like exercise.
Yeah.
Right. Which you can approach it that way too, because when you're trying to get good, you're just practice. But for me, even that, like the fuel to practice was always inspiration for me. Not like competition, pure competition. It was more. So then you like, why? It just sucks the joy out of it. And I don't feel like I'm as inspired as when I was doing it for just fun.
Yeah.
That's why I encourage a lot of people. I don't make a career of it. Just do it for fun. It's so much fun. It took me all this time to get the fun back. And again, like with banjo, being a beginner, doing something that I didn't know how to do, like learn to play chess. I was like, all right. It brought me back to when I was a kid and was learning to play. And I was like, oh, this is so much fun.
Yeah, isn't that beautiful?
I can't imagine with comedy that because it's funny.
Well,
that's a hard one to.
The thing that and I guess I can really only speak from my experience, but it's that thing of like, first it's like it's like a dare to yourself, right? Like you kind of do it and you're like, can I do this? I can crack everybody up and it doesn't matter if I'm at DMV or if I'm whatever, I can make people laugh, but now I have to actually go up and like, am I observing, sweatpants with the word juicy on the butt, or am I doing, like talking about myself, like your first jokes kind of thing? Am I talking about, the side effects of pharmaceutical drugs and all that baseline shit? And then you learn to kind of like, you get up and like, you have to take the microphone out of the stand and you have to adjust to the lights and you have to adjust to the sound of a waitress dropping a tray or someone talking. Like there's the stuff that has nothing
DMV.
to do with the jokes. Yeah, it ain't DMV. Right. Exactly. now you're behind the counter at DMV and everybody's looking at you like, let's go. I don't have all day, you know? And then you got to kind of like deliver, you know? But there is that thing of like when you do it and then you're kind of like, oh, damn, like I know how to do it. Like I can do this. Like, and then there's a lot of brevity on your thoughts. Like you kind of now have this thing of like, you're almost like a diamond dealer, I would feel like, where like each thought comes through and you have to put on the little thing and go like, is there anything in here? Is there a couple? Well, we'll hold on to that one. And then another one will come through and you go, that's garbage, get rid of it, you know? And then a big old diamond comes and you're like, I'm not ready for that one yet. Let's put that back in storage, you know? And you start to compartmentalize your thoughts and you put like a lot of pressure on your thoughts. And I'll tell you what, like you said about making it a career, this is something I absolutely hate in retrospect. And I feel like it should be outlawed if comedy wasn't such a pirate ship out in international waters. A lot of gatekeepers in the beginning will do comedy competitions, right? Local, regional contests where you against other regional comics or whatever, but you're obviously going to invite your friends and fill the room with your people, which in turn sells tickets, sells
popularity
drinks,
contests,
sells whatever, right? But also like so these club owners and bookers are like making bank off of your desire to win. So it's like a grift, really.
And now
so,
you're the funniest when you really weren't the fun. Can you imagine like Stephen Wright showing up to the comedy competition?
Exactly. And they would do like, you know, the final four, or it would be like up again, you know, like the basketball tournament, like 64 comics down to one. Caroline's used to do it. Caroline's comedy competition. All right. Like 49th and Broadway, Times Square, the biggest, you know, whatever. Hey, everybody, I'm doing the Caroline's comedy contest or whatever. And you were your name was in that bracket, you know, and it would go down to whatever. And you bring your friends and you get 1 minute, Oteil. You get
60
minute,
seconds?
60 seconds.
God.
You get, sometimes you
I mean,
get
it's like,
one
take
joke.
My wife, please. That's it.
Literally.
Like, boom.
That's it. So if the person before you smashed or if they bombed, you're either way, it's like, and these are like no like veterans are really going and doing like the, you know, unless they want to just go try to smoke the competition. And then if you lose to the new kids, you're fucking good luck with that, you know. But yeah, dude, it was like this thing of just like all the pressure in the world. But so many of these contests, I remember I did one at the casino where it was like 4 weeks long, dude. And you got to keep like, you make it past, and it's like, okay, who thinks comic number one should be on to the next round? And it's like the clapping. And you got to be like, come on. And you go, comic number two. And it's just, if his people are drunker and louder, then he wins. And then you're like, oh, I suck at comedy. But it's like, what a defeatist. I mean, that's like year two.
It's the wrong premise, you know.
It's literally like putting, it's like putting Nigel again in like a world championship of chess at 8 years old because he beat you once. You know what I'm saying? And it's this, but it's these gatekeeper people that can see that like, oh, let's capitalize off these like young comics dream, you know? And it's a terrible way to start because comedy shouldn't be a competition, just like music shouldn't be a competition. The only thing
that's the whole part of what's wrong with our paradigm is like, because you got to get more likes, you got to get more money, you have to get more eyeballs, more whatever, more, or more than. And it's never enough. You know, it's like, wait a minute, I thought this was just for fun, you know, or for inspiration. Like, because when you think about those guys playing chess in the park, the beautiful part that I love about that is that everything goes away.
Mm-hmm.
That when I used to play music as a kid,
you
know, you're living in Southeast Washington. We didn't have a lot of money. All that went away. And I was in this incredible world.
Yeah.
It's just where the rest of the real sucky world would just be. It's there, but it's gone.
Yeah.
It's those two guys in the park playing chess, you know.
It's amazing. It really is. And do you still feel that when you're on stage?
Well, I do now. I got some of it back playing banjo. I got some of it back during the pandemic where I started working on something musically that was like chess to me,
Yeah.
but in music, which is diminished harmony. It just was so, it just was too big, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And so I dove into it, and me and Tom Gorner would be up till like 4 in the morning talking on the phone, FaceTiming, showing me a fingering, like, talking quiet so we're not
Such a
waking anybody
wizard.
up. And it was just like, I was like, man, I haven't felt like this since I was 17, or when I got my first six string and I took it over to Reggie Wooten's house and was like, teach me chord melody. And actually, that's what he showed me the very first day. And it was too much for my brain to handle. So I called him afterwards. I was like, man, over the pandemic, I got into all this stuff with Guarna. I was like, this is what Reggie showed me the first day I brought my six string to his house.
Amazing. That is so funny.
But, it's like, I know that I can do it now. So I'm like, okay, it could be anything. It doesn't even have to be music, or it could still be music. Like I want to learn to play the oud. I
Yeah.
just love the sound.
Yeah.
Hamza El Din. It's this old Nubian music. And Mickey Hart actually produced a record. And I got to buy an oud because that's the sound. I'm
Yeah.
like, that's the sound that makes my heart just like,
It's a beautiful
just
sound.
opens the portal right up. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I'm really like psyched at all the things that I can be a beginner at.
Yeah.
Now, musically or not.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's really interesting. I think about that with like I put out this special, and now it's like, all right, start over. And you gotta literally like start writing new jokes, and it's like, holy shit.
I think that's kind of the cool part of comedy, because like I feel in some ways that I feel sorry for you that you can't like, I can like completely quit music as a career and do music right here in my room. And it's actually more blissful. There's no pressure. There's nothing. I didn't have to go anywhere. I'm in my underwear. You know what I mean? Like, and I can just be on Venus somewhere, like,
Sure.
but you need an audience to do that. You know what I mean? It almost has to be professional.
There has to be pressure. Pressure's
no-
the gas in the tank. Yeah.
But you do get this where it's new again, is like, as soon as you've done it, now you're back to square one. Beginner again. You know what I mean? Like, you got to redo something completely from scratch. It's cool.
Oh, it's so weird, dude. And it's
agonizing. Isn't
it's
it?
agonizing. But I will tell you this. It's very interesting. Like, nothing feels better than like a new thought, like literally like appearing on stage like a fat fastball that you're just gonna like, you're like, I'm just gonna hit this right at the barrel, and it's gonna soar over the fence, and you do it with such like new energy, like that first time you learn that chord, or that first time that you like master some like progression, and it just like, you see the crowd kind of jar, like you have a moment with them where you're like, yeah, that was good. That was good. And like, that's a fun moment in comedy where it's like you hit a new tag or a new punchline that just organically appeared, and you can almost kind of be like, that was funny. Like that, it transcends, like it's not mine, it's ours. You know what I mean? Like, we had a moment.
That's the improv part.
Yeah.
The beautiful X factor, man.
And that's, I think, that you just learn to be your own safety net. You learn to be your own trust fall, where like you go up there and you're kind of like, I'm gonna try a new trick. I'm gonna try a new, I'm gonna try a new jump. And I'm in the air, like, let's not break a leg here, like, let's land. And it's up to me to figure out how to land. And a lot of times you crash and, break your skis and shit. But the thing that's interesting is that, like, the dichotomy or whatever, like the yin yang of it all, is that like a lot of musicians record an album and tour the album, right?
Yeah.
We tour the material and then release the special and then start
Yeah.
over, right? But there are times, I'm not gonna lie and say I'm like some purist where like, oh, I burn that material and whatever. There are times like I have an hour tried and true that if I have to do it, I could just do the special. I could do that
Yeah.
material. So like for instance, this past weekend on Long Island, the crowd was pretty rowdy, right? And it was like a
Yeah.
crowd that like I'd have to know right away. Now is not the time for me to work on
Yeah.
my curveball.
Yeah.
Like let's
Now's
just
the
go
time
up
to
and just
smack.
that's it. And I turn the volume up a little bit in my
Yeah.
voice and I stand a little taller and get a little closer to the edge of the stage and cut
Yeah.
the pauses in between the jokes, because if I give them literally a half a second more,
Yeah.
Oteil, and I could
Yeah.
taste it, I'm like, I'm gonna lose them. Bring them back. Bring them back. And
Yeah.
that I have to like play them before, dude. I wouldn't have known how. I would not have known how. Right? Like I literally would have like eaten shit up there and like probably got mad and yelled at them and whatever. But this time I
Yeah.
was just like, okay, no, this is work. This is actually where I'm like laboring. Like I'm putting in just like
Yeah.
an hour. I punch in, I punch out. I do that set. I know it works. And I did great. But it was just this
And
thing of like,
you have the experience to know that that's what to do then. It's
yes.
almost like the audience is your instrument. And you're like, oh, this instrument's you know,
These
I'm gonna
strings
have
are
to
about to break, dude.
yeah, I'm gonna have to manhandle this bass. You know, it's like you get a new bass every time you go on stage. And like, okay, what are we working with here?
Is it tuned? Is
You
it
know,
not?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's just, this won't stay in tune. All right, we're gonna go heavy into the yeah, man.
Let's carry this conversation over to the Patreon. And folks, if you want to join us over there, go to patreon.com/comes a time pod for bonus episodes each week. Thank you so much for listening. And let's head over there right now. Maybe we can summon Eric to join us.
Whoa.